Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to another Nerds in the Word.
I'll get off my phone.
I would appreciate that a little bit.
Sorry.
Kind of helps with us being able to stream and
Yeah.
whatnot. And
I'm not used to being on this early.
oh well, we're changing that up. We're getting refocused on all that goodness. But here, I'm gonna swap it so that
You can hear
I
me?
can hear you instead. That's important, guys. Here's a note. If you want to have a happy wife, you make sure you listen to her. So put your head. You can put the earbud in the other ear, but just as long as the other one that's close to, then you know. Hello, Wally. How's the treasure hunt going? I found 2 more of the ones that you said that there should be more in the car. Yeah,
Oh,
there's more.
I didn't hear this.
So you know the gummies that we got? That was not from the church. No, that was from our very own Wallace, aka Gideon. And so we found 6 for the kids, and then there were 2 up in the dash, and I was like, oh dude, like they were excited. He goes, did you find all of them? I'm like,
How many were there?
well,
total?
there were like the ones that I found, and like I told him the location. He goes, oh, yeah, you haven't found all of them yet.
How many are there? If I know
Pause for reflection.
How many? Because if I know how many there are, then I know how many I have to find.
Well, I don't know a bunch. I just grabbed a handful. So I found the ones for the sunglasses one. I found the glove compartment one. Is there more past that? He's just saying okay.
How did he hide them all without you knowing?
Because I had to clear off the car because it was snowing.
That's amazing.
From the time that we were in the, there is one more you are missing.
Ooh.
Well, now I'm really confused, man.
Oh, this is amazing.
This is torture.
This is coach approved.
This is unfair. Yeah, but the problem is, now that when we find them, they're going to be like rock
Might take
hard, cold, and all that stuff.
No,
Like,
just take it inside and it'll thaw. It's fine.
I mean, that's fair.
Alright.
I mean, that's the thing. So, yeah. Weird. Anywho, guys, I'm happy to have you guys on here, both on Twitch and on YouTube. Those of you with YouTube, I don't know why we've been experiencing a little bit of delay. I know yesterday Nuggets noticed on the stream it was like 40 seconds delay. So it was like a little bit significant. Oh, Wally's on both. Look at that, showing up on the chat and throwing it down. We still haven't figured out the simplicity of being able to have 2 of the chats at once.
Extra 10 seconds. 10 seconds is not bad.
Yeah, not actually 40 seconds. So just 10. Okay. So those of you
It's not as
in the
bad.
past, hello. And that's all. I wanted to be difficult that way.
You're so good at being difficult.
Also, you may have what's up. I appreciate that, Wally. I really do. Oh, and GG Film. Hey, man, been a bit. Glad you're able to hop in and enjoy this too. GG Film, we met actually at camp this past summer.
Very cool.
He's the hardcore nerd from Owen Sound.
Ah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
The dude that followed us and had a good time, and then he's got his own YouTube channel that's actually really cool, guys. You should check it out. It's like stop motion stuff, and he's got some other stuff that he did like 2 years ago. Like, what would he do if he was Spider-Man? That's actually a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Rekindled my childhood a little bit, but you should check it out. Yeah.
Which
Yo, what is up?
I'm confused. There's 2 screens.
There's a
Of
lot.
course.
Yeah, so like focus on the right one.
Okay.
Don't focus on the left. Focus on the right one, because the left one is just Twitch,
Okay.
and that helps us with Twitch notifications. The right one is just a whole bunch of text.
I'm not overly tech savvy.
It's okay. I'm still getting used to it because we just did it this week. So
Okay.
it's like
Oh, that's fair. I guess it's
you're
the
all
first time.
hopping along with this one here because we're multi-streaming.
Ooh.
We're fancy. We're slowly upgrading. Oh, yes, hydrate. Oh, no. Oh, Coach, you got it? Woo!
I'll try not to knock everything
Guys,
over.
now you've experienced that in sound also. So we got your back. because like when you
It bumped.
it shook things up. I can hype. I can type. I can type. What? I can type. I cannot type. I can now type. Okay. Sure. I have no idea what that means there, Good Gamer, but we appreciate you. Yeah. We got the back. Okay.
Okay.
It's here, just so you know. So in case
Alright.
you need to hydrate.
Well, it tastes weird, so.
Does a little.
Anyways,
Sad moment brought to you by.
shall we focus?
Yes, we're trying to focus here. We're trying to get in on this. Hi. Squirrel moments going on here. I want to say one thing before we hop on. You guys have noticed some of the posts that Coach has been throwing down, particularly the shout out yesterday that she was going to be on today. Yeah, throw down what you like out of that kind of stuff, because the more we know what you guys like or what you appreciate or what you would like to see a little bit more of, the more me and Coach collab process, and really just Coach takes it on and rocks it, and Wilson gets to do the Wilson Improves.
Yeah, and you'll still post stuff occasionally too.
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping to do more of the behind the scenes kind of stuff, and sharing who's part of the graphic word and what we do. And so yeah, that'll be my plan over the next few months or whatever. And probably sharing clips from different streams or whatever, so that people can get a glimpse into what we do.
Yeah, because we want you guys to feel like you're part of the process in that, and I'm not the best at communicating that all the time. I can be a hype guy. I like talking about faith and nerdom, obviously. Hence, this is why we have the thing that we're doing. But the more of this kind of stuff that's going on, the more I'm actually able to specialize. And that's been a heart for me, has been trying to figure out what am I actually really good at? Like, what's the thing that I'm bringing to the table? Me and Nuggets were actually having this conversation last night. He's like, what do you mean, what do you bring to the table? We are here because you made the table. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nerds all the way. But we've got a lot of different people that specialize in skills. Coach has been learning how to do social media and do it well, and to be able to get more peeps to check out stuff, and so that's a thing that I haven't had time to be able to invest in. So that's why we're asking Coach to do that kind of stuff. That's why we've got the peeps that do the blog spots posts that we do for our nerdy blog. That's why you're starting to see more Nugget stuff that's coming on out too, and trying to see what we can do more with him on that. And there's stuff in the works. But ultimately, I'm trying to figure out not just overhead, but also like what's the really good thing that I can focus my time that's going to benefit you guys, and also be able to get what's going on for me out there.
Yeah, because if you're doing it all, you're going to burn out. And
Yeah.
we don't want that.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even as effective
No,
either,
it's not.
trying to do everything.
It's like the body of Christ or something, where you have to work together to make things work.
What? That
I
like
know.
makes sense. Why are you, how dare you make sense? That just, guys, she made sense.
Somebody
it's unfair.
has to in this
What about
relationship.
dollars though? That would be, sorry. That was horrible. That was
You
horrible.
make the dollars because you bring in the money.
Yeah.
I make the sense.
We just don't talk. We don't talk. If you want Wilson to bring more dollars in, please consider supporting us monthly. That was a plug, and that was also real. So just letting you know, you can
Alright.
help us in a direct way.
Shall we focus?
Yeah, how dare you. Okay, sorry. Okay. We are on Psalm 48. Guys, we are so close to 50. So close to almost the third point. I've been like so excited to like get to the third way. I don't know. Maybe next time when we get to like 50, I'll have to do something ridiculous that day. Don't worry, you won't be there for
50
that one.
push-ups.
What? I thought you loved me. Why are you
I
making
do
me do
love
50
you.
push-ups like that?
Because I love you.
No, hey, no. None of this agreeing with each other here. None of this. No. I don't want 50 push-ups. No.
Okay, 50 sit-ups.
No.
25 of each.
No. We do something fun 50, not torture 50. Oh my word. Like, you, okay. I'm gonna cry. Okay, Psalm 48. So we're diving into that. So grab your Bibles, grab your digital devices, grab your wife if you have one, and we're gonna read together on Psalm 48. And I like to use NLT because it's a little easier to read through. It's got 14 verses, so it's a little chewy. But yeah, it's a little chewy, but it's steak, so it's good. That's what we're here for. We're here to chew on the steak that is God's word.
14 verses is not that much, though.
It's actually not that much. It's not Psalm 119 yet.
Yeah, it'll be fine. That'll take like 3 weeks to work through.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna divide that up. Anywho, and I just want to start off with the caveat that, why have I been using that word a lot these days?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I want to start off with the reminder on how yesterday's Psalm 47 worked out, right? Like we've been, since Psalm 46 and onward, there's been this presence of like God's ultimate authority into our life. And it's been going from the micro to the macro level. Going from the focus of, life is brutal, life sucks, these are the details that hit me. Oh wait, God is supreme over that. And even yesterday, when we were looking at how God is supreme, it was only 9 verses, but it was more on a global perspective. He went from like small individual thing to then like huge, big world climate vibe that he's in control of it all. He has it all. And so we're going to be continuing on that, but we are going to be sitting on a bit more on the theme of mountains and even like fortified cities. And so we'll chew on that together. We'll process that out, kind of stuff like that. Yeah, there's been a lot that I've been stewing on for that kind of stuff. But without further ado, I'm going to do Psalm 48, and we're going to do chunks. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do you want to read, or do you want me to read?
I will start off.
Yo, throw it down, coach. Oh my word.
All right. How great is the Lord, how deserving of praise, and the city of our God, which sits on his holy mountain. It is high and magnificent. The whole earth rejoices to see it. Mount Zion, the holy mountain, is the city of the great King. God himself is in Jerusalem's towers, revealing himself as its defender.
The kings of the earth joined forces and advanced against the city. But when they saw it, they were stunned. They were terrified and ran away. They were gripped with terror and writhed in pain like a woman in labor. Yo, what's that like?
That's not fun.
That no fun. That's not fun. You destroyed them like the mighty ships of Tarshish. Shattered by a powerful east wind. Yo.
We had heard of the city's glory, but now we have seen it ourselves. The city of the Lord of heaven's armies is the city of our God. He will make it safe forever.
Pause. Chew on that for a bit. Work through some of those images that are going into your mind or in how you're processing it. Kind of intense. Okay. O God, we meditate on your unfailing love as we worship in your temple. As your name deserves, O God, you will be praised to the ends of the earth. Your strong right hand is filled with victory. Let the people on Mount Zion rejoice. Let all the towns of Judah be glad because of your justice.
Go, inspect the city of Jerusalem. Walk around and count the many towers. Take note of the fortified walls and tour all the citadels, that you may describe them to future generations. For that is what God is like. He is our God forever and ever, and he will guide us until we die.
Ooh, dang. Yo, a lot of support on God there. Like, that's some loving. And holy snap, that's a lot of nerdy arc emblems being just thrown down. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the encouragement. Okay. So, again, we are looking at fortresses. Again, we're looking at what is the idea of a fortress? Like, what's the whole premise of a fortress?
Security.
Security. right? And especially if you're building security, you want to have advantages in the midst of your security, right? Like, this is where having God sitting on the holy mountain, one is the connection between heaven and earth, right? The idea that most people worship on mountains is because it's the closest thing to the sky, which is closest thing to the spiritual realm, to heaven, to like different cultures and focuses on that. But here we have it where in this psalm it's focusing on Mount Zion. Now you might be like, Mount Zion? What's the deal with that? Like, you hear Zionism that's thrown around and stuff like that, and that can be toward Jerusalem. I want you guys to honestly think about this geographically kind of perspective. Mount Zion, aka Jerusalem, is actually not really a tall mountain.
No, it's not. It's taller than what's around it, isn't it?
Not
No,
even,
No,
because
right.
Mount Hermon, which
Yeah.
is not too far, like I think it's like 10 kilometers away, is much taller than Mount Zion.
And David was talking about lifting his eyes up to the mountain. So if he's in Jerusalem lifting his eyes up to the mountains, then clearly Jerusalem's not in the highest mountain.
Right. And in that specific psalm, that's Psalm 124, where he's like, I lift my eyes up to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. But notice the difference right there. Coach just said mountains, but then in other translations, it's hills. And that's the interesting thing within Bible translations. They're actually one and the same. So you can either take it as hill or as mountain, which is kind of appropriate for us in Ontario. Those of you guys know, like, there's tons of hills that are, like, just everywhere. Like, let's be honest, if you've been to Blue Mountain, I gotta vouch to all my peeps that have been to Blue Mountain, that's not a mountain. Like,
No. I remember when I went to Mexico.
yeah.
We were going to this little tiny village called Zinachapa that was in the mountains, like legit mountains. And I remember one of the guys on my team was like, the only mountain I've ever seen is Blue Mountain.
And then you're like, oh
boy,
that's
so many
cute.
shelters.
Right.
But then there's the Rockies as well out west.
Oh.
And then those are mountains.
Yeah,
like,
those are legit mountains.
if you ever get a chance, like, take it. Like,
What my favorite approach on that, and I get we're like sort of on a side tangent, but this is like setting the landscape, setting the perspective that the psalmist is bringing down. But just as you said, like the Rockies, like when you go to them, my favorite thing is when you are going from Saskatchewan and Alberta, right? Saskatchewan is flat, like you could play crokinole on the ground practically because it's that flat and smooth that you're just like you
if your
could do
dog
that.
runs away, you can see him for 3 days.
That's right. You don't truly lose your dog because you still see them in ways while they're running away. Horrible Canadian joke, but you know, that's what we're here for. We're all Canadian here so far. We don't have Solomon kicking our butts yet. But when you go on the edge of Alberta and you see first this like small canopy of mountains, and you're already like,
Oh, it's coming.
oh. But then as you get closer and closer and closer, oh, sorry, yes, sorry, Sir Knight, that's right, you are American. Rep the crew there. So then, like the Rockies that you guys have in the States, right? All on the western border, right? It's all around there, and when you go and see it, you're just like, shoot, like this is
Can't help but be in awe of it.
right.
Even for people who do not believe in creation, you can't help but be like, whoa, like it's awesome.
You have a giant rock curtain is what every time I come up to it, it's like as if technically BC and Alberta could just have like a giant, like some small walls put in the midst of all the Rockies and just be like, nope, you don't mess with us, kind of like back off, natural, like no touchy kind of stuff like that. Like when we're seeing these kings that are approaching, right, and just blown away, like it's no wonder why God's dwelling place is not first of all in the mountains just because of the proximity to heaven, but it's an advantage to be up there because you can see down. It's hard for troops to be able to come up and fight, and especially if we're talking about, you know, old school OT focus, right? Like you're talking about bows and arrows, you're talking about ground forces. There's like maybe trebuchets could be a bit of an issue, but trebuchets weren't fully developed yet at that point, and so you legitimately have a stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, there's a reason castles were built on it. Like,
right, because you can see it. The threat is down there. You have time to respond, and they can't come at you.
you've got a better perspective.
The only thing that can be a potential issue is, supply over time.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you have advantage. You have a way out. You can figure things out, stuff like that. And I love how the Bible focuses on both kind of ideas on it. Both like this is the closest thing to the dwelling spot of God, but also this is a natural advantage. This is a natural spot where, well, no wonder why God's up in here, because he can see everything, he can do everything, and he can really come on down. Like, it's harder to deal with a force that's coming down from a mountain than it is that's going up on a mountain.
Got more momentum.
Yeah, momentum, like 100%. That's part of the thing, and so yeah, I want you to have that mental picture. And the more I kind of think about, last weekend we watched War of the Rohirrim. Oh yes, thank you. We're gonna stretch. Thank you, gamer. Appreciate that. Making sure we're not getting stiff. Oh. But like legit, they have Helm's Deep, which wasn't called Helm's Deep at that point, but like the very idea that it was a fortress, it was a wall that couldn't be broken, and like fortified, you name it, kind of stuff. It makes a huge difference when we're talking about this whole perspective. Like you want security, you want that peace, and with prior stuff of like the world going insane, there's chaos going on, these other kingdoms creating issues, you want to be able to know there's some form of security that you can have in life.
Do you comment about Mount Zion?
No. I thought he picked Mount Zion just because he wanted Mount Zion. So he picked Mount Zion to be the spot of worship because David wanted it to be a unifying factor. Instead of like all these different hills that God would be worshipped on, he wanted it where God's focus was here. That's where his place was, and where all Israel was going to be united in that one zone. And it was after a city that he had captured. And the gross thing is, David had to go through like the sewage stuff to take Jerusalem down. So it's kind of cool because it is a city on a hill, which is kind of cool. But he had to go through the sewage system to take it out, to deal with it as he wanted. And
kind of ironic, we have to sometimes go through crap to get to the victory.
You hear that wisdom bomb, guys? You hear that? Coach is throwing it down. But yeah, I wanted to lay down that premise on that, and like why mountains are such a big thing. Why are typically fortresses connected with mountains? You have to have kind of like this ancient context in mind as you're reading it, and then pulling that to go, well, what is that thing for us in our life today? And we're gonna be talking more about that near the end. But yeah, we're gonna chew on this bit by bit. So verses 1 to 3, the part that Coach awesomely read. I'm just gonna reread real quick. How great is the Lord, how deserving of praise, in the city of our God, which sits on his holy mountain. It is high and magnificent, the whole earth rejoices to see it. Mount Zion, the holy mountain, is the city of the great king. God himself is in Jerusalem's towers, revealing himself as its defender. Yeah, it has a lot of meta vibe to it. Kind of like God's just chilling up here.
Yeah, you can't even attempt to take me down.
Yeah. Like who cares if there's archers? No, God is like your archer. God's the defender.
He's the defender.
He's the one who's going to take care of it. Y'all just like sit back and see this. And that's happened in the past with Psalm 44. We're talking about how the remembering of how God had worked in the past. Yes, eyes up, Guardian. You got that, Sir Knight. Yes, 100%. Keeping our eyes fixed on who is the one who is our defender, the one who can who can strengthen us. And I keep coming back to Psalm 127, the whole idea of like I can build a house, but it all is in vain if God is not the one who is the orchestrator of it. I can be a defender on the city walls, but really it's all in vain if God is not my defender. I can work all day, be anxious all night, and be bothered by this, but really it's useless because God's the one who supplies me. God is my sustainer. He's my provider. Yes, I know this is all coming out. That's why I did my like one post on the Bible app. Maybe you didn't see it, but
see it.
I shared it on our Discord community on there. But it's an encouragement for you guys that like, just as we're reading the literally first 3 verses, like the holy mountain. This is a spot where God did choose. I was going to be with my people. And that we see later on more with Solomon in choosing to be able to dwell in the temple and be there. It wasn't like God demanded that he had the temple. In fact, that was never the case. He was fine with the tabernacle. It's such a weird thing. Like, such an amazing God who is worthy of praise. Why wouldn't he want a more permanent, lavished kind of spot? And he's like, no, I want to be where you guys are. He never wanted like this home. He just wanted to be around. And then later on, when the temple gets overrun with other gods because of other kings messing up and stuff like that, he gets so frustrated on it. It's like, I'm here and now other things are taking my space. Why is this a thing? Like, why was that okay to you? Kind of stuff like that. But like, you can see the imagery on like how God is there. He's your protector. And like, I love how God himself is in Jerusalem's towers, which towers would have been important because that's where archers typically are. They typically have slits for the archers to shoot, and it's harder for them to get taken out. And they were the mainstay, the protective areas where you would be able to fortify your troops along the walls to also send out other archers or other things. But it's revealing himself as its defender. He's not talking about, well, this is where I send your armies. It's like, no. I'm all you need. Like, we're good, guys.
Yeah. And it wasn't common for the king to be the one doing all the defending.
King's at the back and
they
chilling.
would go to the war.
That's
they
right.
would strategize and plan, but it wasn't very common for them to do the fighting.
Okay. Oh, man, God is so chill. I mean, like, he doesn't want a safe spot for himself. He just wants to be with us, his people. Yeah, he does. Because time and time again, he will fight for you.
He's a safe place for us.
Right.
He's bigger than it. He doesn't need to have a safe place.
Right. Well, I chuckled a bit because it made me think of the Bluey episode where Bandit's trying to teach the kids how to play chess. And it's like, oh, and here's the king. He's the most important one. It's like, oh, he's pretty important. He must do a lot. It goes, no, he only moves one spot. It's like, what? And Chili's making fun of, oh, you moved one spot? Oh,
you must be so tired.
Oh, you need to rest, thy royal hiney, and stuff like that. And it's just like, what the heck? Like, such a powerful piece only has like a little bit of movement, but God isn't that king chess piece where it's, yes, Bluey, 100%. Bluey's amazing. God is not that chess piece. Yeah. He's a proactive king. He's like all the pieces moving and going and pushing. Because really, he's the strong one that does it. It's more as if like the king does all the work and the pawns and everything else is like, shoo.
Okay, we'll wait till you tell us to move.
Right.
We'll just sit here.
Right, but that's not a bad thing. And going through, even last night for our Bible study, I'm looking at you, Wally, because you were there semi-listening, I'm assuming. And I came back to chess. It's all about chess, Wally. That's what it is. But last night we talked about this with Gideon. We just read Judges chapter 7, and that's where God thins out the army. That was originally 22,000 strong. And then God's like, well, anyone who's chicken, now's your time to peace out. And there went 2/3 of the army. And you're still like, okay, 10,000, that's not horrible. 10,000, that's okay. That's okay. Then no. At that point, then there's a removal of even more so that there's only 300. And you're like, okay, God, what's going on here? And you didn't hear too much of a complaint from Gideon, other than like when they're about to do the attack, and God goes, "Hey Gideon, you and like a few dudes, you're gonna go in and check out the camp, because there's something that you got to hear." And he goes and he's hearing by the tent, and there's this guy who has like a really messed up dream about a barley bread that rolls down and destroys the camp. And at first you're like, huh? But for them, it was like, dude, this means the Israelites are going to like destroy us. Like, this is nuts. Weird confidence flex boost, period. But in that moment, then God shows up, because he's the one who then creates absolute insanity as soon as the pots are broken, the torches are there, and they just have to yell. Like, we kind of looked at it as like, that's like Joshua. When Joshua had to walk around the city, not just like for 7 days, walking once around the city for the first 6 days, but then the 7th day, 7 times, and then you're just supposed to yell. Worst strategy ever. Like, ooh. But God used that.
Mm-hmm.
What seems like nonsense, he's like, psh, it's not about your strength, it's about mine.
Yeah. Because God doesn't ask us to do things that make sense necessarily to us. He just asks us to listen, in a way, to Shema.
To Shema, yeah.
Follow through with it.
Yeah.
Because his ways are higher.
Mm.
And it doesn't make sense to us, and he works through the nonsensical.
But I just, yeah. Sorry, I've been on a rant on that one.
I'm a little tired, so I'm not as chatty. But...
It's okay. I appreciate your feedback when you throw it down. So thank you. Keep on throwing love at Coach. We still got to make her a sticker. All right, verses 4-7. The kings of the earth joined forces and advanced against the city. But when they saw it, they were stunned. They were terrified.
Terrified.
Ooh, them squooey wabbits. They were terrified.
I love you.
And ran away. Thank you. I appreciate that. Terrified and ran away. They were gripped with terror and writhed in pain like a woman in labor. I looked over at you for that one. You've had firsthand experience.
Yeah, twice, and that was with medication. So I went, oh.
Still not fun.
No.
You destroyed them like the mighty ships of Tarshish, shattered by a powerful east wind. Like...
And they didn't do anything against them. They were just stunned.
They're just like, oh shoot. And like, it makes me think, okay, here's another nerd reference. Lord of the Rings, when Frodo and Sam and Smeagol go up to the Black Gate. When you first see the Black Gate in that segment, it's massive. It took cave trolls to open up doors. So that's substantial. The thing is massive to the point where this army that's marching into Mordor seems tiny and compare, like, when you have something like that, you can't help be like, oh no, like, this person legit ready for anything. And that's where I kind of like see this as they're like, oh my goodness, this god is no lightweight. In response to Joshua, this popped up in my head as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways.
Yeah,
Psalms.
Too.
Yeah. Well, and that's true, right? There's a wisdom that comes from God that we can't comprehend unless God reveals it to us.
And he often doesn't reveal everything to us because I think it would blow our brains.
Right. And sometimes it's also just a point of like, you don't need to know that. This isn't the time for you to see that, to make that connection, which can really frustrate us.
And later we can often look back and see how God worked and see how it did like pan out or how it made sense or whatever. Like, I know I've had those moments where God's called me to do things and I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. And this goes against my human nature, my sinful nature. Like when I was applying for work one year when I was at college, And my mom was like, "Oh, print off 30 resumes and go around town and drop them off. You'll get something." Because I didn't want to have to work at their bookstore the whole summer. And I dropped off one, and I just was like, "No, this is not right. I don't feel right about this." And God's like, "Throw them out." And I'm like, "Okay." So I did, and then the next day, somebody came
Valerie,
up to the store. Verily.
Yeah, verily.
Came up to me like when I was working at my parents' store and was like, "Hey, do you want a job this summer?" I'm like, "Yes, please." And like, it doesn't always work out that way. There's definitely been times where things do not work out, and we might not ever see the results in our lifetime. But
well, and just as Sir Knight just threw down, hindsight is 2020. And yeah, that's the advantage of being able to see after the fact. But definitely when you're in the middle of it, you can still be just like, oh, I don't know what to do about this. But as far as when we're like talking about in our approach maybe to God, we can be those enemy nations though too, right? We can be the ones that kind of want to push back on God. We can want to be able to go like, "God, this is my thing." And sometimes we like to think, well, yeah, we know what we're doing, God, so just like deal with it. But then when you are blown away by the awesomeness of God or the situation that comes up and stuff like that, it can be overwhelming. There's a quote from somebody that said, the tremble and fear of being in the hands of God." Like to tremble in fear at the very idea of the power of God. It can be intimidating, it can be scary, but it's also like a blessing too. But it can be, depending on the situation, being in God's hands is
often terrifying.
Yeah.
It means we're not the ones in control. It means it's not in our hands.
But it's to work that out. We want to be on the side of verses 1 to 3 here, right? Like where we are part of his safety, his home, his dwelling, because we know he's our defender. He's the one who protects us. We don't want to be on the other end where we are trying to advance forward and then we get gripped with terror and writhe in pain like a woman in labor. Like, I haven't gone through labor. I'm not going to go through labor. I've gone alongside Coach with labor, and even seeing where she gets at, and that's with medication to help through that, is like, yeah, I'm very happy I'm a dude right now. I'm very okay with that right now, and I'm kind of okay with it. Like, just, well, it's legit, because, like...
Not that bad. You legit do forget it afterwards.
You do forget it, which is a medical marvel in itself, but also...
It's nothing medical marvel, it's a supernatural
Well, yeah, sorry,
thing.
yeah, but, like, it's still like a... Huh... But then also destroy them like the mighty ships of Tarshish, shattered by a powerful east wind. Like, just like crashed, broken, destroyed. Oh, we are in God's hands when we are in God's hands. We are in good hands when we are in God's hands. That made more sense. Thank you, good gamer.
You need to make the text bigger.
Wilson's getting old, okay? Just,
That's not possible.
Not possible,
because
guys.
I'm older than you, and I'm never going to get old.
Touche.
So.
You heard it from Coach. That's how it is. All right, back on track. Verse 8. I appreciate that. This is the thing that hits before the pause, before the reflection, right? So we've seen the awesomeness of God. We've seen the awesomeness of God against his enemies that come at him. Now we had heard of the city's glory, but now we have seen it ourselves. The city of the Lord of heaven's armies. Oh, snap. It is the city of our God. He will make it safe forever. Almost kind of like a summary statement of like what was going on before, right? The very idea that God's the defender and protector. We have now seen this. We have seen enemies come at this. We've seen how they approach it. And you don't mess with God on this one. Like, it just... Don't do it. It's like one of those, like, Obi-Wan talking to Anakin. Don't try it. Like, don't go there, man. This is not going to go well. You're not in the right mode. Just no.
Choose the right side.
Yeah, that's right. You have chosen poorly. That was an Indiana Jones reference for you guys. If you guys even know what that is. But I love how it's the Lord of Heaven's armies, right? So even behind God, there's still even more.
Mm-hmm.
But God is all that's needed. And okay, this is me chewing on this bit. You can push back on this, but when God wants stuff done, he tends to do it himself. Yes, he'll sometimes send an angel in on it every once in a while. But, like, look at Jesus, right? Jesus was the direct hand-on approach to dealing with sin. And I get that was the only solution, really, that could be handled because he's perfect. But even the idea that Jesus could flex that, like, guys, do you not know that, like, at a moment, like, a legion of angels can show up and just kind of deal with all this? Like, I'm really kind of easing off on y'all here.
Well, even in Exodus, when the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt for so long, like so many generations, that the Egyptians didn't remember Joseph at all.
Yeah.
Like, it got to the point where God's like, I've heard my people cry out in pain and agony and begging for being saved, to be saved. And basically he's like deciding, okay, something has to be done. I'm gonna do something about it. Like, enough of this.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think of the might of God. He tends to show up first. Like, he'll show up. And you think, an almighty being, why do you need to show up? Why do you need to do this? Well, because he wants to. Oh. He's involved. Yo, what's thrown down? What does it taste to have a deodorant vitamin? What?
Do you hear my video?
Oh, yes.
It's a little off topic, but it's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
I haven't done it since.
Just so you know, good gamer. Gross. Don't do it. That's a little plug for our social media stuff and how to get in on that and stuff like that. Yo, Shalomi, my homie. Long time no see, man. Good to have you on the stream. But he's got this army, and you don't see him use it too much. I find that interesting. But it's also right. He doesn't need to. But like different times where you do see like these angelic beings, these spiritual beings that have so much authority, they're already superseding other things, and that's like in Deuteronomy that you can be diving into and stuff. But just the very factor that God's a very involved God, and that's so cool because He wants to be very involved in your life. He wants to be there and He doesn't want you calling on an angel. He doesn't want you calling on a secondary thing. It's like, no. Yeah. Call on my name. Yeah. Like, direct source that stuff. None of this, like...
Oh, no. Can of worms talking about how you're not supposed to call on saints. But...
Right. Well, yeah, that's another pet peeve that I have on that one. But we're going to be cool. We're going to focus in. But, yeah.
He has all this power. And he could just sit back and have people, like the angels,
do everything,
do things for him, or just but he wants to show up. I think he likes showing up and not showing off, not in a egotistical kind of way, but kind of being like a flex, being like, yeah, like I've got you. Like a dad coming to pick up his kid who knows he's getting beat up or whatever.
Oh, yo.
And you're just like, you don't have to say anything, you just show up.
Yeah, very much like back when we were talking about, I think it was either Psalm 16 or Psalm 18, where you call out and God just gets in dad destroy mode. Like, don't mess with my kid kind of thing like that. And we can forget that in the midst of difficulty. But definitely here, it's accenting on, like, God is that safety. He is that security. And there's different Psalms, like Psalm 27 talks about how he'll take us out of our situation and put us up into the high mountains or into the high place, and it's a safe spot. It's where he dwells. He pulls us. It's like when my kid is in trouble, when Hannah like gets hurt, what do? We pick her up and we bring her close to us.
Yeah.
And then we sit with her in typically a very comfy and like snuggle mode kind of, because that's safety, that's security, that is belonging, that's affirming.
Well, even it was
on
large.
that spot.
Like the kid's so
oh.
big you can just barely fit in her laps anymore. But
Comes in and
he like gets
nuzzles
right in.
hard.
I'm like, I have a hard time breathing.
Yep.
He has so much weight on me that I legit have to like slow my breathing.
He hefty boy now. Like,
yeah, I mean he's only 8.
he's
9.
8 and he's
Oh my
already at
goodness.
like my neck, which
He's
is
like here on me.
yeah, it's scary.
Like
We
he
don't-
was just here before, but now
Ugh.
recently, just like he's growing constantly. But he still has that need
Oh, he's growing.
for that comfort.
Yeah. That
And
safety, that
yeah,
peace.
like just like us, right? Like no matter how much we've grown or how much we've matured in our faith, ultimately we still need that comfort from God. We need to come to Him
Mm-hmm.
for our safety, for our protection, because we can't do it on our own.
Mm.
I mean, we can do it a little bit on our own, but it often doesn't work well.
No, it doesn't. No. Fair point. Okay, I think we sat on that. We chewed on that. Now we get to go on to verse 9 and 11. Verse 9 to 11. O God, we meditate on your unfailing love as we worship in your temple. As your name deserves, O God, you will be praised to the ends of the earth. Your strong right hand is filled with victory. Yo. Let the people on Mount Zion rejoice. Let all the towns of Judah be glad because of your justice. Okay, so again, key feature on one of God's 5 characteristics that he self-introduces, right, is the unfailing love. He pursues, he cares, he invests despite what you do, right? Like, there's no way that you can earn God's love. He just is love. He gives love. He is unbound on that. Zion is the name for Messiah. Okay.
And then
Wherever you see Zion, read Messiah instead. Interesting. That's a different
and
take
then
on that
it's,
one.
Psalm 20.
Yeah, you go ahead, read it.
I can't read it from here.
It's like in Psalm 32 verse 7. You are my hiding place, and you will protect me from trouble and surround me in a song of
Songs.
in a song of, and then
Okay.
deliverance.
There.
Deliverance. There we go. Yeah,
I think we need to make the text bigger.
I thought I did make it bigger, but this new thing is weird. I'm working on it, okay?
Absolutely. Just make sure it's bigger.
I'll next time have glasses.
By
I'm
next
like,
Friday.
so, yes.
Or next time I'm here.
Well, yeah, which will be in 2 weeks. We'll clarify that.
Yeah, because it's a.
I'll clarify that.
I was just gonna say it was a PA day.
It's okay.
This will
We'll
be
throw
home
it
with the
in at
kids.
the end.
Unless you want the kids on here too.
I'm chewing on things here.
Okay.
So again, like, we have the presence of God. What does that do, right?
Mhm.
And I appreciate you throwing that there, Rabbi, on how even throw the name Messiah instead of Zion, because that's a different take on this, right? Because we've been talking about like the physical terrain of that. Let the people on Messiah rejoice. So like in Messiah, you're saying that kind of stuff, like refocus it on like when Christ Messiah is our safety, our place where we can meet and dwell. That makes sense. I can see that where it points to Jesus. Mount Zion, or Messiah, the holy mountain, so the great spot, the city of the great king.
He is the great
he
king.
is the holy mountain. That's where we meet God, is through Jesus.
Yeah.
And he is the great king. Yeah, I can see that. Interesting take.
And
Good for extra
all the
chew.
deliverance, right, and rescue.
That's right. That's right. But here we have like this is like ultimate peace zone. This is ultimate like rest zone. This is where we can see that God is moving. God has delivered and created the safety. We worship in your temple. Like, things are right.
But it doesn't mean he's necessarily delivered them. He's defending them. But yet they're so at peace that they're able to go into his temple and worship him and not worry about what's going on.
Well, even the attribute, your strong hand, or your right hand, your strong right hand is filled with victory. Like, just the piece of, like, with God, how could we lose kind of idea. Like, God is the victory. You don't even have to see the victory. You just know God is victory.
Mm-hmm.
God is that, right? God is that peace. And so then out of that, we see the Mount Zion, like, people on Mount Zion rejoice, right? People in Messiah rejoice. Why? Because he's your safety. He's your security. That's the thing that we say about Jesus, right? He's our security. He's the one who has given us permanent security when we rely on him and focus on him and give our lives to him. He gives us security in the midst of all difficulty because he's like that fortress in the midst of all the chaos that's going on there. He is the bedrock. He is the house built on solid rock, right? As opposed to sand.
Yeah. So this is Psalm 48 is what we're working through right
Yes,
now.
sorry, we're chewing through Psalm 48.
Legendary.
You point at my stomach, that's legendary? What is this? I don't know how to handle that. I feel
What?
like my shirt's legendary. I don't know who's legendary. I just know I got tapped with legendary.
Okay.
But cool. Okay, thanks for the heads up, Rabbi. Thanks, gamer. Appreciate that.
But yeah, how often do we find peace when we're in trouble? Right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't say that God's rescued them and that their enemies are no longer, well, it could be that their enemies are no longer there. But often if you've gone through a situation, you're not sure if it's over yet, you worry about it, you reanalyze it and figure out if you could have handled it differently. But they've moved on. God's defended them. He makes sure that they're safe. And so then they go and worship him.
Mm-hmm.
Like an immediate response, kind of like, okay, don't, like, it's done. They're not gonna, the people aren't gonna decide to come back and attack us again. No,
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah, it's done. It's dealt with.
Yeah.
Period.
Kind of like a peace in the chaos, because it doesn't mean everything's solved.
Then is that perspective? Is that looking to the future? Is that holding on to the promise then?
Yeah, I think partially.
Okay.
Well, that's something that we say too, right? We thank God for all he's done for us and praise him in advance for what he's going to do.
I think that's something we need to work out because we often don't praise him for the things.
I know,
that
but I'm
are
saying we've said that a couple times when we've been praying at night or whatever, but it's a perspective, right? Like, going back to, I know I wasn't here for this, that you were talking about reminding us of all God's done, but yeah, I don't know. It's just
Okay. It's good, Chew. It's good.
my perspective. I'm not sure if I'm making sense because I'm so tired.
No, you're making sense. That's good.
Okay.
That's good. Okay. So now we're going to end off with 12 to 14. Go inspect the city of Jerusalem. Walk around and count the many towers. Take note of the fortified walls and tour all the citadels, that you may describe them to future generations. For that is what God is like. He is our God forever and ever, and he will guide us until we die.
So after they've been attacked and the people run away, instead of first inspecting everything to make sure it's okay, they worship God. And then they're like, oh yeah, I guess we should check on it too.
Well, even so, this kind of rubs me weird on the baseline that the Israelites were not supposed to be counting their military forces, but yet they're told to count their towers, which is kind of like, so what's going on here? Like, who are we depending? Who are we relying on? And I think that comes back to our first three verses, the very idea that, specifically verse 3, God himself is in Jerusalem's towers, revealing himself as its defender. So it's almost like a mental picture of, like, you see these towers, God's there. Be reminded that he is your defender. So when you see all these towers, it's not on your strength. It's reminding us of, no, remember God's got you.
Yeah.
This is like a visual reminder of that. This is not like something you should actually depend on. Be like, so we have we've got 12 towers. We should be building another 5 or another like stuff. It's like, no, no, no. God still defends. God is still the one that holds us. God is the one who's securing us. He sees the things that we don't see as a threat, and he's the one who deals with them. And like, yeah, take note of the fortified walls, and 2 are the citadels, that you may describe them to future generations. Why is that? Because Israel was always supposed to remind the next generation of the victories that God had done, right? That's why, again, there's like so many festivals that are focusing on different things that God has shown up. That's why the Passover is like the biggest festival in the reminder of the biggest rescue that they had. But all these things were supposed to be reflections and focus on, guys, this is how God is saving you, and this is how God has saved you. So when things start getting heavy, don't focus on what your own strength is. Remember how God stepped in. Remember how God did the impossible. Because you couldn't do it, even if you tried. Because time has proven time and time again, when you try and do it on your own, it's gonna fail.
It doesn't work. No.
It's
without fail, it fails.
Yeah, without fail, it fails. And so the reliance, the trust, the reminders of that. And so the question, we're talking about security. We're talking about fortresses. We're talking about the things that should be giving you the most amount of peace. But yet they're not if you're constantly worried about them. Coach is laughing because, you know, there's some
reality, right?
Well, but like, okay, I'll dive into that for me. There's been some things that in my head just make sense would be security and safety for us as a family. And if you process it logically, it makes sense, and then you go, yeah, like, of course that's security, of course that's rest, of course that's peace. Coach has noticed and called out a couple of times for us in a good way that all this stuff where I've been trying to work on not having stuff that I'm worried about for our family, different things that just seem like security things or things that just seem like, yeah, like this should just, I do this and I'm going to be able to rest, but the problem is I don't. Like, I don't have rest, I don't have peace. And so then the real question is, well, am I really trusting in God, though? Because ultimately, if we're trusting in God, it doesn't matter whether your walls are built up or whatever. If you have so many towers, or if you have certain securities and stuff like that, that can go away pretty quickly due to different things. God will bring peace. Yes, but I also think part of bringing that peace is that you got to actually trust in Him.
It's an active thing.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle in some ways. Like,
right.
I don't know. It's so easy to hold on to things tightly and try to figure it out on our own.
And it's easy for us, yeah, as you just said, like for us to hold it on our own, to kind of like figure out things. And I don't think that God has given us a mind that we just simply do the illogical all the time or stuff like that. But
We've been given minds to think and to be smart and to be wise.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately, He's the one who gives wisdom. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That's Proverbs.
Yeah.
And not that we need to be afraid of God, but to honestly like chew on like God is the ultimate supreme authority being, period. So why can't I trust in Him? Well, it's because I want to control how the outcome comes too.
Human nature.
Right. And
I hate being human sometimes.
I do. Oh man, like, by golly, like it's frustrating because every part of me, the things that I worry about are things that are fair to worry about. Like I want to take care of you. I want to take care of the kids. I want to make sure we're okay. But the problem is, if I'm losing sleep, I'm not able to then take care of you guys and do that.
And you're not able to take care of yourself.
Right, which also causes another issue, right? There's so much that compiles and adds on to it, or compounds and adds to it.
Yeah.
By it's the sermon all over again, that I need to be willing to give you guys up to focus on God. which is absolutely terrifying, because that's the role of a husband. That's the identity of the husband. And maybe that's part of the problem is, what's the identity that I see and how am I giving it to God?
Mm-hmm.
What's the role that I see and how do I give that to God? Like, that's part of this whole thing, guys, with Graphic Word. There's been a lot of questions that have been popping in my head, not whether Graphic Word's gonna go away or disappear or stuff like that, but like, what's my role in serving you guys? What's my role in what God has called me to do for you guys? And overall management, I don't think is the thing. It can work for a time, but there's like so many other people out there that can do this way more effectively than I can. I know I'm supposed to be here talking to you guys. And I know that by any time that we kind of open up a time for conversation, people are there. And it's not because I'm amazing and I know so much or stuff like that. Some people might say that, but like, honestly, for me, the point that I see it is that I want us to grow together. I want us to learn together, and I want to challenge you. Like, Coach sees this with our kids. My constant thought with them and working through is not just to simply be there as a dad that's loving and like holding them. Like, of course, that's the thing that I want them to know. I want them to be able to know that I love on them and care for them, but I also want them to know that I want to encourage them to grow, to be able to develop in who I see God has kind of created them to be.
The potential they have, yeah.
And that's the prayer that we throw down every day is like, God, help us to guide our kids in a way that honors you, in a way that you have created them to be. Because we want to do that due diligence. We don't want to be in the way. We don't want to be the, well, God, I want Hannah to be the ginormous nerd, or I just want Mark to do this kind of thing. It's like, no, like, wherever you lead, God, that's the thing that we need it to do. That's the focus that needs to happen. And so, you're being too sweet, good gamer, okay? But like, I'm working on the security thing. Because I feel like I've been the watcher on that wall for a long time. There's been a lot of threats that have come at us. And feeling like I've had to be like hardcore hyper vigilant. But I've done that mostly on my own. I feel like God more recently has been just like, Mike, you were never supposed to be watching that on your own. You're supposed to be leaning on me.
And it's hard because we've been through a lot. Nothing major, but it seems like there's always something.
A new thing that comes up.
Right. It's not one thing, it's another, is what we joke about. But I don't know, God's provided for and taken care of us and carried it through all of it. And so if he's done that already, there's no reason he would not continue to do so.
Yeah.
And that's why we have that book. We write down stuff, even things that have not necessarily been fulfilled or figured out or whatever, just so that we can look back on it. We should look back on it more often of the things that God's done for us, because in our very humanness, we always forget what has already happened. And yeah, I don't know.
So I'll ask this a little bit. I'll let you chew on it first, and I've already kind of shared my takeaway. But what's your takeaway that you get from this chapter? I'm going to throw the level up challenge for them, and then I want to hear your response. Is that okay? Will that give you, or do you already have?
I kind of have something already.
Okay, Coach already has something. Throw it down.
Mainly that I can have peace in the chaos. And I know Scripture talks about being content in everything and praising God despite circumstances and all that, but it's so easy to focus on the crappy parts of life and the what ifs, and like I have a tendency to get fixated on one idea, on something I think is the right thing to be doing or next thing that God has for us, and trying to figure it out, and then I get ahead of myself and I start thinking, okay, well, if this happened, we do this and this and this. But no, I need to be able to let go, know that God's already got it all figured out, and trust that if I keep on submitting to Him, if I keep on surrendering to His will, then there's no way I can get ahead of Him, because He's outside of time. So He's already got it all figured out. So yeah, peace and chaos is kind of what comes to mind. And not like in the eye of the storm, but everything does not have to be figured out and settled and dealt with for me to worship God. Like, I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to have, everything doesn't have to be perfect for me to still worship God where we're at. Like Ebenezer's in the wilderness, right?
Dang. Shoot, that's good.
This is my tired brain.
Tired brain working well here, guys. Like, goodness.
I am not gonna nap on this couch later. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Well, actually, time-wise, that might be a little harder for you to do. Well, okay, never mind. I'm gonna be quiet. Anyway, so here's my level up challenge for you guys. And again, we've talked about this on, first the level up talk that we did from last week. You taking time with God. Take the priority to do that. Engage with Him. Be willing to sit with Him on that. But then the second step, we've kind of gone from...
It's over 9,000!
We've gone from focusing on what are the problems, being able to share that, being able to confess that, looking at God and calling for rest in the middle of the storm. God, where are you in the middle of this storm? To now, God, how am I resting and trusting that you are my defender? Because He's God Almighty, and so we should be praising. That was the one from yesterday. We should be praising Him in the midst, but in the midst of seeing all that, how are we resting in Him? Because when we are truly giving that up, we are confessing, we're trusting that He's taking that burden on something that we've messed up. So now we're already entering into His safe space because He gives us grace. Christ does that. By doing that, then we can focus on Him and be reminded of how awesome His glory is. In doing that, we can hear the ting, ting, ting of arrows that should have been at us then in that case. We're having that protection in God. That peace in Him. And hearing that can create anxiety, but then knowing that the walls will hold. The security in God and who He is. So that's my challenge for you, is like, how are you going to rest in the security of God? And not in a cheesy way, but like, honestly,
Despite
if you
your
need,
circumstances.
despite circumstances. And my encouragement for you is to explore this either by check out some images of what a fortress wall looks like. Do some drawing. Process it. How do you picture God as your fortress? What gives you that mind of like the fortress that's going on? If you have something in your local town or environment where there's an old city wall or stuff like that, go check it out. Feel it. Inspect it. See that. Process what that would have looked like in its prime. One thing that I really miss, Solomon visits a castle every once in a while. Man, I've been throwing Solomon's name out here left, right, and center. I'm missing the guy. Pray for Solomon, guys. But Solomon, when he would go on his prayer walks, he would go visit a castle that they have close by. And he showed me some video clips of it. And it's just like, oh my word, man. Like, that is just a blessing to be able to go there and check this out and to walk into that space knowing that this once housed people. This was a defense. This was like, this is where the moat was. This is where the defending towers, the islets that you can see, where the archers, it's just like physical representation of the awesomeness on how God is saying biblically where He is at, right? Like how the psalmist is seeing God in the glory, just like, shoot, that's sick. And yeah, we miss Solomon.
Or if you have any hills or mountains
Yeah.
near you, go up on them.
Yeah.
And look down, look around, and envision God there with you,
Yeah.
being in his presence there, right?
Just meeting you there, even.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, good wisdom. Good wisdom. Coach throwing it down again. Okay, with that, we're going to pray. If you got prayer requests, I appreciate what you threw down there. Good gamer, that you're praying for us. Really do appreciate that. There's been... Feels like our fortress has been getting a lot of
East winds.
sieges coming against it, and it's learning to rest in the midst of that, and that's a scary, weird thing. I'm a very visual guy when it comes to praying and processing with God, and this past week, you guys have seen it in our Discord server if you're on there, how we're doing this night vigil thing, and just like being able to be at rest, and that's more out of conversations that's been coming out with other people, but that's where I've been feeling like God's been laying that down. I was like, Mike, you need to just sit by the fire, put your sword down, and just be able to have a bit of rest, because you're still called to fight, but right now you need to rest a little, and you need to be able to pour into other people in that rest too. That's how you can keep the fight. You can keep the vision of what are we fighting against and what are we fighting for. That kind of came out really in that moment.
Can't see what you're fighting against if your eyes are too tired from staying up too long.
Oh shoot, it's like that episode last night. The one doctor that fell asleep in the middle. Okay. Yep, no, that's a good... That was a very good illustration. Oh man, that messes with my head. My dad can't do a drive... Our driveway. All the snow. 4 feet of snow. Yo, Owen Sound got hit. My word. You were made to take action, but the day of rest was made for you. Yo, Rabbi, good reminder, right? Yeah, man. Shabbat, rest. Rest. Okay, we're gonna pray. So I'm gonna pray real quick. And Coach is probably gonna fall asleep, and that's fine, because Coach gets the idea of rest. Just
not at the appropriate
time. Not at the
necessarily.
right timing all the time. But you know, we love you. Again, I'll save that for the end. Okay. Father God, I thank you that we can come to you. We thank you that you are our fortress. You are our high mountain. You are our peace. God, we don't need to be intimidating, because you alone are an amazing force to go up against. And when we are barraged with life, when we are barraged with brutal situations or people or stuff like that, you are our refuge and strength and ever-present help in times of trouble. You are our fortress. You are our high ground. You are our safe space. You guard the towers. You are the fortification. And I don't ever have to worry if the walls will hold, or if the gates will hold, or if the defenses will hold, because you are the creator of the universe. You are the sustainer of this universe. And we can hold on you and trust in you. So God, I pray for anyone online here who may be feeling like their walls are breaking, that they have no defense, that they are out in the middle of nowhere and there is an army coming, are going to be barraged, that they can run to you, they can call on the name of the Lord and be saved. Help us to experience your peace. Help us to experience that moment of even joy, God. Like, I appreciate in the psalm that when they were in the tower, they were able to praise you, to look to you, to be reminded of your unfailing love. Give us strength in our minds and our hearts. Give us resolve in your peace. Help us to experience that peace. And And may we be just feeling like we're a walking fortress, because really we have the fortress in us. That's you, God. God, I pray for Solomon. My heart's really going out to him, and he's been an awesome dude who's been part of this online community, who loves on everybody that shows up, and just is such a huge encouragement. Continue to be with him in his chemo treatment. Continue to be with him in getting rest. Help us to hear from him soon how things are going. Help us to love on him. And God, I just pray for my own mind and my own heart, that I'd be resting in you and relying in you. I don't have to be the sentry looking out throughout the night, because you're the one that brings safety and security. I can rest. I can be at peace. And I can trust in your vision for what you have for this ministry, but more importantly for my family. Eyes up, Guardian. Help me to keep my eyes on you and to focus on that. Give us your strength as we go out from today, and help us to honor you in everything that we do. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Oh snap! Rabbi wrote 2 books. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Okay, know that if the world could have continued without you, it would have. But since you woke up and are alive today, God has declared the world could not continue without you. Oh snap! Find your greatness. Find out why. Perform just one more command. Give to charity. Help a friend. Give words of encouragement. Oh, that's a good call out. Yo, Rabbi, you gotta send me some of these direct quotes here, man. These are good. You are like a battery containing immense power when connected to other things. When connected to other things, can bring them to life. Sometimes batteries need charged, but a battery that never connects to anything is a worthless battery. It was made with a purpose. Fulfill that purpose. Get connected. Get plugged into your family, your friends, your town. Don't just be a battery. Plug in and become a light. Oh, yo. Okay, you gotta throw these quotes at me, Rabbi. You're in the Discord. Just do it. All right, and then finally, last word from Good Gamer. Jesus loved people so much. Jesus' tears were moved by the love he felt for people. Jesus was sent to comfort. Jesus was sent to comfort those who mourn, provide for those who grieve, and give them joy instead of despair. Jesus was forsaken so we might be forgiven. Jesus was separated from God so that people could be reunited with God through him. I am the light of the world. Those who believe in Jesus will live even though they die. Jesus wept for Lazarus. Yo, some peeps throwing wisdom here, guys. Shoot. Good words, crew. Well, that's it for our stream. Thank you again, Coach, for coming on, even when you're tired and, just wanting to sleep. I get it. If Coach was into coffee, I would just fully, coffee.
I survived college, 2 pregnancies, and 2 young children without coffee.
Truth. It's fair. It's fair. So, thanks again for tuning in. Thank you again for joining me on the couch and being here on
next
Fridays.
Friday, it's a PA day.
Yeah, so next Friday we will not be on. In fact, the only one that's going to be streaming next week will be Nuggets. Just a heads up, so you got one stream to look forward to. But be amped for it. Be excited for it. It's Nuggets. He's awesome. I'm going to try and post throughout the week, just giving you snippets of kind of what I'm doing at the conference.
If you send me
and stuff
photos too, I can also put them up. And little plug again. I am working behind the scenes on something called Becoming Wonder Woman, and so obviously it's more for women, but talking about spiritual warfare and being godly women and feminism from a Christian perspective. And so I am on
Healthy feminism from
Yeah.
a Christian perspective.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, and so yeah, checking out there. And then the eventual plan is to be on streams on Mondays, probably from home, so that I can do Bible study. The one I'm wanting to work on is called Girls with Swords by Lisa Bevere. So feel free to check that out. And I will get the study guide and post the questions in Discord, so I will join Discord so I can do that.
Sadly, when you get the study, you don't get a sword.
No.
I don't know why they didn't do that. That just
I
makes
mean,
sense.
If we had the budget for it, that would be amazing.
Yo, that's
Don't get me started.
that's a goal down the line to like do a sword making trip or like a weapon making trip, because there's a guy at least in Ottawa area that allows for some of that.
Cool.
Kind of want to do it. Yeah, right. I want to. When you hear someone having a sword, you're like, I want one. And so yeah, of course, do it. Anywho, guys, I'm not going to prolong this anymore. Thank you again for joining us both on Twitch and on YouTube, for being able to do that. Better than girls with tent pegs. Yo, some people would go to jail for that.
Good point.
That was a horrible, horrible Bible joke. I'm so sorry. I'm not getting a lot of love. Okay. Anywho, guys, again, thank you for hopping on. Thank you for checking us out. Be sure to, if you missed out on any of this, or if you know someone missed out on it, send them the link either to Twitch or to YouTube.
I can share it
Both will be on
online,
there. Coach can do that. Coach is on the case. So, love you guys.